Hello, friends. Last week I addressed what to do when someone we love dies. This week I would like to continue the thread and talk a little bit about Shiva. Shiva is the Hebrew word for 7, the traditional number of days that we simply allow ourselves to be with a profound loss and let others take care of us. Today, many people don't understand the concept of Shiva fully, and I'd like to shed some light on it. When someone we love dies, it's often difficult to wrap our hearts and minds around this new reality. The funeral or memorial service is an important first step in beginning to grasp the loss. Sometimes people say that the funeral provides closure for the death of a loved one. I don't understand what this means. If anything, these important public gatherings provide a beginning, an opening for those who are mourning to engage the grieving process. Grief is something we feel, a deep sadness when the reality of our lives have undergone a very significant change. We have to adjust to the new reality that our lives need to proceed without someone we've loved, often for many years, and sometimes someone we have loved for our entire lives. The grieving process is a mysterious path toward healing. When someone we love dies, we are left with this great empty space, a missing relationship that is irreplaceable. We need time to begin to integrate the loss and find a new and different sense of wholeness. If we try to rush back into life, back into work, without taking the time to really be with the loss, to genuinely engage the process of grieving, we can pay a heavy emotional price. For example, becoming numb, living in a state of dissociation, or not being able to open to new things. There is such extraordinary spiritual wisdom in Shiva. When the community can gather to support families and individuals who've experienced a loss, the traditional Shiva is a gift beyond measure. When my mother, Esther Goldblatt, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing, died, none of my siblings nor I lived in Cleveland. We all came back to our hometown to bury her and mourn together. She'd been living in an assisted living community, so we had no home where we could sit Shiva. We all stayed at a day's inn where, because we had reserved a number of rooms for 7 days, they were kind enough to provide us with a large conference room that was ours for the time we were there. We removed the tables and we set up the chairs in a way that was comfortable for us. Every morning we gathered in the conference room, ordered in breakfast, and sat together, remembering my mom. Family members drove in from Detroit, upstate New York. People came from the assisted living center. Old friends came. People she worked with and shared stories. In the evening, more people showed up after work, after dinner. We would say Kaddish and continue the storytelling process. Again, the gift of this process is time. Memories came, stirred memories, and others gathered. We laughed, we cried. We were consoled in the presence of one another and all the people who came to pay their respects to my mother. It was a very special time. It was healing. It allowed us, all of us, to fully engage the grieving process that we would each continue on our own. Today, often our loved ones die in another city and we go for the funeral, or maybe there is a day of Shiva or more with family and community there. When the mourners return home to the Bay Area, our Beth Chaim community always offers a Shiva gathering here. Many people feel uncomfortable with it because few, if any, people here knew the person who died. However, the Shiva is for the person mourning, and even if no one there knew the deceased, we gather to support the mourner in their grief. Whoever can attend it, and even those who cannot, know that the Shiva happened, are aware in a significant way of the death and of the need to offer comfort and consolation to those who are grieving. Shiva's not meant to be done in an empty house. So the Shiva gathering might just take place in the evening when people come home from work. Bring some food and show up for the person or people who've suffered the loss. So often when the ritual gathering is done, people engage in small talk, socialize with one another as they partake in food or drink. I think that the concept of Shiva is more greatly honored when we do not engage in small talk and only talk about the deceased, or create a space for the mourner to talk or even to remain silent. It would better serve the mourners if we all simply tuned in to what the mourners needed. When I first came to Beth Chaim, a lot of people in the community didn't know about Shiva. And over the years, as people have felt the power of people showing up for them when they've suffered a loss, they feel the need to go and do that for others. So today, the community is greatly tuned into Shiva, and it's a source of great gratitude for all of us who've lost someone. That community provides that loving support. Shiva is a time of compassion. This experience of compassion encourages the mourner to be compassionate with their own memories of their loved one, and furthermore invites them to be compassionate with themselves. It is a precious time, a sacred time. During COVID, we've had to conduct a number of Shiva gatherings on Zoom. While it's certainly not the same as an in-person gathering, it's still an important way to support people in mourning. Whether we do it for one evening, more than one gathering, or an entire week, it is one of the deep structures of love, compassion, and honoring the sacred dimension of death and grief. If you have any questions about Shiva or any other topic that relates to our people's spiritual practices around death or loss, I would be honored to discuss them with you at your convenience. So stay safe and be well. Shalom uvracha. Peace and blessings.